Hey folks, Gway. I apologize to all those folks who tune in every day to see my luscious head of hair. It is downright cold in the church today, and so I'm wearing a hat. You see our furnace is busted. It is beyond repair. It is dead, deceased. It is pushing up daisies. It has ceased to exist. It is no longer of this mortal coil. I really wish I knew that skit from Monty Python better at this particular point in time, but the bottom line is I need to keep my bald head warm. Anyhow, today I want to talk about a fellow by the name of Rick Scarborough. Rick Scarborough is an American pastor, and you may have heard his name before. Every now and then he gets national media attention by saying something rather extreme. A few years back he said that he wouldn't blame God if God nuked the United States because the U.S. had a gay ambassador. He also said that he would light himself on fire if same-sex marriage was written into law. Thankfully he did not. He called upon Christian pastors to take their own lives in protest of another LGBTQ equality law that was brought forward. Well, last week he let the world know, in particular he let Texas know, that he has a plan to take over the school boards of Texas to ensure that they are teaching what he believes to be right and proper lessons, that they are following and enacting policies and procedures and rules that he feels are right and proper. To do so, he's asking the Christians of Texas and from around the world, I suspect, to help him raise a large sum of money to help Christian pastors and other devout Christians get elected to office, in particular, the school boards of Texas. He feels that if they can stack the school boards with Christians, they can get rid of, and I believe this is his quote, the LGBTQ crap. This is erroneous thinking. Not because Christians shouldn't take leadership roles or be elected into office. Christians absolutely should offer themselves for office and offer themselves for leadership roles in their community, without question. Right? Christians should take on those responsibilities. They should give themselves in that way. And their decisions should be based on their Christian principles, their Christian faith. Their words should be based on their Christian principles and their Christian faith. Their decisions should be based on their Christian principles and Christian faith, without question. They must maintain their integrity as Christians. But Christians should not look for ways to seize power. And that's ultimately what Rick Scarborough is suggesting here. That Christians seize power to make sure that the world behaves, speaks, and operates in a way that they approve of. And that quite simply just isn't the call that Jesus has asked us to answer. That's not the path that Jesus asks us to walk. It's not the path that Jesus himself walked, even amongst his own people, even amongst the religious leaders of his community, of his culture, of his society. He never attempted and never asked us to seize power to make people believe, to make people do and be as we believe they should do and be. He never asks us to make people love him. He never asks us to make people follow him. He never asks us to make people live the way he says or the way we think he says we should live. Jesus' call to us is to share the gospel. And we are to do that through our words and through our deeds. We don't have to stand on a soapbox on a street corner in a busy city to do it. We just have to be like Jesus. We have to follow the path that Jesus followed. We have to heal people around us. We have to feed people around us. We have to share with people around us. We have to make ourselves available to the people around us. We have to do as our Master did. We have to speak as our Master spoke. We have to be like the one we claim to follow. That's how you share the gospel. And sharing the gospel isn't something that is measured by the number of converts. It's not measured by the number of people who change their life to be to be like you and I. That's not how sharing the gospel is measured, because not everybody will accept the teachings of the gospel. We're going to do a video on that later on, but it's a truth. We're just asked to share it. We're asked to be the gospel in people's lives and allow them to make the decision for themselves. We're also supposed to make disciples of all the world. Absolutely. We're supposed to go out and we're supposed to encourage and equip and empower people to be disciples. We're supposed to help them be Christians in their world, in their communities, in their culture, and in their society, amongst their friends and amongst their family and amongst the strangers in their towns and cities. We're absolutely supposed to do that as well. But neither sharing the gospel nor making disciples is something that we are to do by force, by coercion, or by manipulation. We are never, ever called to make people live as we want them to live, as we think they should live. Christians are supposed to be a world-changing community. A world-changing community. We are supposed to be sharing light and life with everyone we encounter, everywhere we go, every minute of the day. That's our job, essentially, is we are to be Christ in the world, and Christ was nothing if Christ wasn't a game changer. But we do not change the world. Christians do not change the world by making people act the way we think they should act. We change the world by loving the world. We change the world by loving the people of the world. We change the world by loving all of God's creation. That's how we do it. Scarborough's plan to take over the school boards of Texas does not further the cause of the gospel. It's not the way of Jesus Christ. We don't need to do those sorts of things in order to make this world a better place. We don't need to do those sorts of things to make this world prosper and to grow. We don't need to do those things to be the people that Jesus asked us to be in this world. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that no matter how tempting it may be, we will never leave the path of unconditional love. That we will never leave the path of mercy, of compassion, of charity, of forgiveness, of sacrifice. Because for the Christian, this is the only path that leads to making this world a better place. This is the only path that leads to people coming to know the depth of the love that Jesus has for this world. This is the only path that we can use to share the gospel, and it's the only path we can use to make disciples of all the nations. Any other path is a poor substitute. It's a fool's errand. Amen. Nemultus.